Guys, what if you could avoid a nasty divorce just by me teaching you the biggest risk factor and how to avoid it? By the end of this video, you'll understand the secret cause behind those internet horror stories of women blindsiding their husband of 20 years with a divorce and taking all his money, and you'll know how to avoid it yourself. You might be thinking divorce is too complicated. There's no way that one factor is that big. But you're in luck, because I've got 15 years of training and experience as a marriage and family therapist and relationship coach. And I found the one factor that leads to divorce nearly every time. And I'm about to show you how to stay safe, so the divorce nightmare does not happen to you. Welcome back to my channel, where I show you how to make love happen on your terms. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist, and I make relationships better. Most guys today are terrified of becoming another divorce statistic and losing all their hard-earned money. Worse, many men are afraid their children will be alienated from them by a bitter ex-wife, so they lose everything that matters to them. I'm here to tell you exactly why those families fall apart, and to help you spot the red flags miles in advance so you don't get blindsided. Let's teach you right now what you need to know so you're never a statistic and you don't get your life ruined. So let's get right into it. To understand this danger, you need to know about attachment styles. Here's the info in a nutshell. Some people have anxious attachment, which makes them feel unworthy of love. They do nice things for you and they play super nice, but their expectations mount up and through the years until they resent you for not fulfilling their secret needs. Mostly women have this issue, and a lot of them get married and have kids. The other side of the coin is avoidant attachment, which makes people, especially men, avoid emotional connection out of fear of being trapped or rejected or exploited. Most men with this issue don't even know that they can build more intimate relationships and be open. They tend to pair up almost every time with anxious women who won't challenge them or get in too deep. And they take those women more or less at face value when they claim they don't want anything more. As you have probably guessed, those women tend to get more and more resentful of the avoidant man through the years, as they pressure them into marriage and other desires. These are the women who are fine not getting married until year 5, when suddenly they erupt with demands. But many of them fly under the radar as risks because, well, the issues seem fixable. But once the couple gets married, she'll usually push for kids next. A lot of avoidant men will begrudgingly have kids, or sometimes they'll even look forward to it. But the pregnancy and the birthing and the breastfeeding process, they all change her permanently. She starts to get a hormone called oxytocin that she's got very little of throughout her life. This hormone is about as addictive as heroin, and it's all she's been craving through all of her relationships since childhood. She releases it in a flood during the birthing and breastfeeding processes, and she becomes hyper-fixated on protecting her kids and bonding with them. A lot of dads at this point complain that they feel abandoned in favor of their kids. This is usually the culprit here. This is the disaster point. She now wants her kids to all grow up feeling all that oxytocin all the time, like she never got. So she makes them feel it, and she gives it to them. She smothers them sometimes, and she expects the father to provide it too. But he's never felt it. He has no idea how to make it happen. He avoids intimacy because it scares him, because his caregivers hurt him, or they abandoned him, or they did awful things, or they just never really loved him. He may not even believe that her demands are possible. It might feel like she's being overly sensitive or demanding, and he'll probably tell her that. She, meanwhile, will get more and more frustrated at him for not providing that emotional intimacy. It starts to set up a war for the mental health of the kids, and she treats him like an enemy. This gets worse. Most husbands at this point have no idea what to do. They haven't changed, but she has, and she's growing increasingly angry and destructive. She might turn the kids against him and triangulate with them against their dad. This ruins the marriage, and it leads to a ton of fighting and tension, including usually the death of all sexual activity. This can drag on for 10 or even 20 years until she erupts from the marriage and files for divorce. She'll usually get a boyfriend right away and declare that she's been enslaved for long enough and that she wants to not be lonely anymore. My heart goes out to these women. It really does. I've written a book about it, Exhausted Wives, Bewildered Husbands. It's right there above my head. It's one of the biggest causes for divorce in long-term marriages that I've ever seen. It's a huge problem. And these women usually spend a decade or more working hard to beg their husband to please fix the problems. And they get shut down over and over and over. And they hate it. The reason they get a boyfriend so fast is usually because they have felt so emotionally starved for so long that the relationship has been over for 2 or 3 years for them, and they've just been playing a game along the way. That's usually what it is. So to them, getting a boyfriend that quickly, it's feeding a need to them. It looks horrible from the outside, but to them, that's the justification they'll usually share. The husband at this point is usually confused and terrified and wounded. He loses his house, his kids, his financial security. Then he goes online. He tells the story of how he was blindsided by an emotional mess of an ex-wife who made crazy demands that could never be fulfilled, and then got a boyfriend immediately. If this story sounds familiar, and if you've been terrified by these internet horror stories, then stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to avoid this trap. The answer here is not to be terrified of all women, or to believe that you're always just one step away from death. As I just showed you, these issues spring from years of resentment and missed needs, as well as a lot of secrets and missed connections. At the heart of it all is an insecure attachment problem. That dance between anxious and avoidant that explodes. So when you fix that, you cut off this whole toxic pathway. Here's why. Secure attachment allows both of the parties to share their needs and expectations openly, right on the table. No more need for the female partner to be secretive about what she wants or to pretend everything is fine for years. No more reason for the male partner to be distant or to hold back. If both understand what a relationship can and should be, and if both work in good faith together as a loving couple, this whole mess is avoided in advance. When they have kids, dad's no longer a distant threat to the kids' well-being. He's a valuable asset who builds their strength and helps them feel safe in the world. Mom sees him as a great father who's taking care of the kids, and she wants to keep him around instead of feeling like she has to protect the kids from him. And because they have secure attachment, they can both discuss problems very openly. She could say, hey, this feels like a problem. And he will say, oh, even if I don't see it, I'm willing to understand that it is. So let's take care of it together. What's going to help? How can we fix this? Let's solve it. He won't brush it under the rug. He won't insult her. He won't dismiss her. He won't do any of that. He'll work with her. And she's not going to be crazy, out of control, demanding, stomping her foot. She'll be reasonable and work with you. That's the power of secure attachment. Secure attachment fixes all of the variables that lead to this. Now, if you're a man in the middle of a relationship like this right now, it is fixable, usually. The number one thing I can tell you is to work on your relationship with your kids first. That means fixing your own attachment so you can meet their needs and help them get more secure. I have resources that'll help you do this. I'll share some later on. But I've seen marriages come back just about from the dead when the husband fixes his attachment and works with his kids to build great relationships. That turns off mom's resentment and makes her respect him a lot more. When the kids are thriving and glowing about how great you are and how you're taking care of them and loving them and talking with them, it's very hard for her to stay angry because she is so happy that they're finally getting their needs fulfilled. And then the kids usually help you fix the marriage and they become your agents telling her what you have done. As long as your change is legit, it's amazing what this will do. This sort of a relationship dynamic can be stopped, even sometimes before it forms, and it can be fixed usually in the middle. Late stage work is harder, but it's still usually doable. It all comes down to fixing the attachment issues as fast as possible so that you stop destroying each other and you start communicating more honestly. So if you're terrified of a nasty divorce ripping your life off the tracks, the best possible thing you can do is make sure you've got secure attachment and pick a partner who's secure as well. That way she won't blindside you down the line and you won't walk into a trap. Now, if you need help fixing your attachment, I will help. I've got personal coaching. I've got a dedicated video course that shows you the steps. I have everything. You can check out both of those on my website at adamlanesmith.com or drop it in the comments and ask for help. I'll be there. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.